Hi, dedicated vocal students and teachers. This is Franco Tenelli, and this is Science of Singing. In this program, I'm going to show that one of the most frequently asked questions are actually wrong to ask, and I explain why. You probably asked this question to yourself or to your teacher and actually never got a very comprehensive answer. And you probably blamed yourself for that, or you blamed your teacher for bad explanation. Nevertheless, let's go to these questions that I think are wrong to ask at all. Okay, let me just put these 5 questions or suggestions and then explain why they are wrong to ask or suggest. Question number 1. How should I feel? How should I feel, maestro? Can you tell me? Question number 2. Maestro, tell me who is the best. Question number 3. Please tell me, what books should I read? Obviously, to get enlightened. Question number 4. Recommend me a good teacher in my area, please. Question number 5. Address from a teacher to a less successful student. Look at Peter. He's doing fine. Take his example. So we have these 5 questions or suggestions that I put in a wrong category to ask at all. Okay, let's analyze the first question. How should I feel? Nobody knows how you will feel or you should feel. In fact, that question implies how you feel, maestro. Tell me how you feel, and I will try to feel the same way as you do, and then maybe I will get what you get. Wrong. Wrong question altogether, because sensations are always subjective and can't be suggested that way. The best way is to concentrate attention on the sensation of a student when he's doing it right. So that means the student had to let him experiment a little bit with his voice under the watch of the experienced teacher. And the teacher does not point out at sensations, but rather at the right sound, and asks student to memorize his sensations when the sound is right, rather than trying to reproduce some foreign sensations of a foreign body. Second question, who is the best? And the short answer to it, art is not sports, and thanks God. Why I think that this question is irrelevant? First of all, when a student asks the question, who is the best, he clearly has no idea, he has no opinion, and he is a total baby. And you say, well, there's nothing wrong with the teacher recommending him to listen to good singers. And I don't see necessarily the wrong thing about recommending some singers to listen to. But the question, who is the best, is truly the matter of a personal taste. Now, the question number 3, what books should I read? I published a special program about dangers of reading vocal books. And you should go and listen to this program. Books, no matter how clever they're written, give you limited concepts instead of experience. I should say that concepts are always limited, no matter how clever they're written or explained. Now, the wrong question number 4. Please recommend me a good teacher in my area. Now, for me as a teacher, to recommend another teacher would mean I know him intimately as a teacher. It means I study with this maestro and approve his method. Now, in my entire life, I basically had 3 vocal teachers. My father, who had very natural approach, not technical, but just produced beautiful sound, let's say. And second one was a professional with the great maestro Andrulaze, who was a great placement teacher, and he had the placement approach. And my third teacher was the life. My own observation, my own experimentations, and my own conclusions. Of course, I read a lot of books after I knew the subject very well. And only then it becomes clear to you why there's so many controversies. Now, another thing, that if some teachers share some common ideas like appoggio, placement, it doesn't mean they can be automatically great teachers to you, because sharing ideas doesn't mean having a good appoggio ear. So you see, of course I can recommend a friend of mine who teaches something, and I like him as a person, and maybe I like him as a singer, but if, to be honest with you, I cannot recommend him as a teacher, because I can, but it will be just an empty a friend's recommendation, if you like. Oh, I know he's a good singer, and probably is a good teacher. Much more difficult to recommend a good teacher than to recommend a good singer. And recommendation usually comes from another students. So if one student was successful with this particular maestro, of course he is very enthusiastic and he promoting his maestro's methods. That's obvious. But when you ask me to recommend a teacher in your area, especially appoggio, I don't know that much of appoggio, real appoggio singers in this world, be honest with you. Otherwise, the vocal field festing with appoggio singers that I don't see. As I mentioned, that appoggio singers in total are about 8% of the professional population. So they are in minority, in a beautiful minority, but in minority. And finally, number 5, that is rather a suggestion than a question. To a less successful student, look at Peter. He is doing fine. Take his example. This is one of the most helpless suggestions that the teacher can say to his student. It happens, and I'm revealing you a little secret, when the teacher cannot say anything to his particular student. And he sees that he is not succeeding with his technique. He sees that there's something going wrong with that. And at the same time, he has another student, not only one, maybe 2 or 3, that are very, very well doing with his method. So he's obvious, he says, well, this is not me. You look at the students, they're doing fine. Look at Peter, like in this case, right? He's doing fine. Why are you not doing fine? You know, so this is a wrong suggestion to look at Peter, because it has nothing to do with this particular student or with you particularly. I put it in these 5 wrong vocal questions or suggestions. And actually, it's even psychologically a very bad suggestion, because it subtly suggests that you're an idiot and Peter is great. We know that very successful teachers are not always successful with every particular student they have. It's probably impossible to be. But at the same time, to have suggestions like look at Peter or somebody else is a totally wrong suggestion, and shows basically the total failure of a teacher who cannot really give a particular suggestion to a particular student and takes examples of his successful students. So basically, I listed 5 wrong vocal suggestions or questions. I'm sure there are much more than that. I thought that it would be the most frequently asked vocal suggestion or questions. You might put yourself in this program on a commentary. What do you think is a wrong vocal suggestion or wrong vocal question? And I'll be happy to answer to you. Thank you very much. It was Franco Tenelli, Science of Singing. And until next time, bye.